Okay. So, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, in the last class, can you see my screen?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay, fine. In the last class, we discussed association between two categorical variables. And to find association, we said that we shall use chi-square test or the Fisher-Exact test. Fisher-Exact test. Fisher-Exact test is used if the expected cell value is less than 5 in more than 20% cells. And this information will be provided by the SPSS below the chi-square table. Okay? Fine. And we said that while determining the association between two categorical variables, sometimes we also calculate the odds ratio and relative risk. We have also discussed in the last class how to calculate the odds ratio and relative risk, including their interpretations. Today, my plan is to find association between two quantitative variables. Okay? To find association between two quantitative variables, we actually do the correlation analysis, correlation and regression analysis. Okay, to find association between two quantitative variables, we do correlation and regression analysis. Correlation is particularly help us to identify whether these two quantitative variables are associated or not in terms of linear relationship. And to find correlation between two quantitative variables, we use Pearson correlation. Okay? To find association between two quantitative variables, or in other words, we say that to find correlation to find association between two quantitative variables, we use correlation statistics. Okay, we use correlation statistics. Correlation statistics can be of two types. One is Pearson's correlation, another is Spearman's correlation. The difference between Pearson's and Spearman's correlation is that we do Pearson's correlation when both these variables are normally distributed. Both these variables are normally distributed. If any of these variables are non-normal, we use Spearman's correlation. For example, suppose if we want to know whether there is a correlation between systolic and diastolic blood pressure. So to understand if there is any correlation between systolic and diastolic blood pressure, we do the correlation analysis. Now, if both the variables are normally distributed, we shall use the statistic Pearson correlation. If any of these two variables, either systolic or diastolic blood pressure or both, are non-normal, then we shall use the Spearman's correlation. Is it clear up to here?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Forget about these things because commonly we are not using these things. However, just remember that Spearman's correlation can also be used if we have ordinal variables. That is, to find association between two ordinal variables, to find association between two variables, we can also use Spearman's correlation. However, it is said that if the ordinal variables have more than 5 levels, okay, for example, say if we want to find association between intensity of pain and say stage of cancer. Say intensity of pain, say no pain, mild pain, moderate pain, severe pain, extremely severe pain, something like this. And for the stage of cancer, say stage 1, stage 2, 3A, 3B, 4, 5, like this. But commonly, actually, we use the correlation statistic to find correlation or association between two quantitative variables. For example, systolic and diastolic blood pressure, systolic blood pressure and age, systolic blood pressure and say hemoglobin concentration, something like this. Okay, fine. So Kendall start this or no? Achha. Okay. So before we do the, okay. Okay, fine. Okay. If we do the correlation analysis, correlation also helps us to, excuse me. Okay. The correlation helps us to assess the direction and strength of linear relation. Okay. Helps us to understand the direction and strength of linear relationship. Okay, I will explain it later on while using the data. In correlation, we actually calculate the R value. Okay, fine. Okay, in correlation, we actually calculate the R value. R is called the correlation coefficient. R is called the correlation coefficient. Okay. R value ranges from 0 to 1. Let's see whether it is written somewhere or not. Okay, fine. The R value ranges from 0 to 1. R value ranges from 0 to 1. Okay. So this value can be negative as well. Okay, then in that case, it is better to say, sorry, R value ranges from -1 to +1. Okay, -1 to +1. If the R value is -1 or +1, it indicates there is perfect correlation between these two variables. If R value is equal to more or less equal to 0, then it indicates there is no association. Okay. So R value ranges from -1 to +1. If the R value is close to -1 or +1, it indicates that there is perfect linear relationship between the two variables, two quantitative variables. If the R value is close to 0, near to 0, it indicates that there is no association between the two quantitative variables. Okay. The negative sign indicates inverse relationship, while the positive sign indicates positive relationship. Positive relationship means if one variable increases, the other variable will also increase. And negative sign indicates inverse relationship, which indicates if one variable increases, the other variable will decrease. We have also discussed about this issue previously, while previously in the class where we discussed about the say generation of scatter diagram. Maybe I have discussed about this relationship, positive or negative relationships earlier with you. Okay, so please open SPSS. Open the SPSS and the data file 3. No problem. Okay, so have you opened the data file?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay, fine. Suppose we are interested to find whether systolic and diastolic blood pressure is associated or not. In other words, we can also say that whether there is correlation between systolic and diastolic blood pressure. Okay, so this is what we want to know. So if we want to know this, we shall have to use the correlation statistics. Okay, we shall have to use the correlation statistics. Fine. So if we want to know whether systolic and diastolic blood pressure has a correlation or not, then we shall do the correlation analysis. Okay, so to do the correlation analysis, go to analyze, then correlate, come to correlate. Correlate, then come to bivariate, Are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, click bivariate. Okay, so we want to find correlation between systolic and diastolic blood pressure. Just select these two variables and push it into the variables box. Push it into the variables box. Okay. Have you done it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So remember that for correlation, if we want to only see correlation, here it does not say which one is the dependent variable, which one is the independent variable, okay? It's not necessary to demarcate which one is the dependent and which one is the independent variable. It's not necessary. The nature of correlation analysis is that they just will say whether these two variables are correlated with each other or not. By the word correlation, it indicates that if there is a change in one variable, is there any change in other variable or not? This is actually indicated by correlation. And as I said earlier, that to find correlation between two variables, and if both of them
আমি শুনতে পাচ্ছি না। সবাই কি শুনতে পাচ্ছেন?
না,
No, no.
শোনা যাচ্ছে না স্যারের কথা।
পাচ্ছি না।
স্যার আমরা শুনতে পাচ্ছি না।
So can you hear me? Can everybody hear me? Hello.
আর এতক্ষণ শোনা যাচ্ছিল না।
শুনতে পাইনি, এখন শুনতে পাচ্ছি স্যার।
Okay, yeah, exactly. There was problem with the internet. So can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. So what I said is that to find correlation between two quantitative variables, we use Pearson's correlation statistics, right? right? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hello, opened SPSS.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we are interested to find if systolic and diastolic blood pressure. Both are quantitative variables. We said that to find association between two quantitative variables, we use correlation. Okay, we use correlation. And if these two variables, assume that these two variables are normally distributed. In that case, we shall use Pearson correlation coefficient. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir,
So
আমার
to do the correlation analysis, go to analyze correlate, then bivariate.
স্যার আপনার
Analyze.
স্ক্রিন দেখা যাচ্ছে না তো।
ও স্ক্রিন দেখা যাচ্ছে না?
এতক্ষণ
না।
Okay,
কেটে গেছে আবার একটু বলতে হবে।
okay, no problem. Screen share. Now, can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So to do the correlation analysis between systolic and diastolic blood pressure, go to analyze, correlate, then come to bivariate. Analyze, correlate, bivariate. Okay. Click on bivariate. Have you done? Have you done it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, bivariate. So we said that we are interested to find correlation between systolic and diastolic blood pressure. So select these two variables and push them into the variables box. Okay. Okay.
Yes, sir.
We said that we shall use Pearson's correlation, right? So at the bottom, you can see Pearson is selected by default. Okay, you can see. Can you see the
Yes, sir.
correlation? So Pearson is selected. And as I said earlier, we usually do the two-tailed test. So it is also selected two-tailed. Okay, so there is no problem. So there is no problem. Okay. If you want to get the descriptive statistics like mean, standard deviation, though it is not mandatory, you can use the option. Okay. You can use the option, click on option, select means and standard deviation, but it's not necessary. Am I clear?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
sir.
Okay, so if you want, do this. If you do not want, no need. Then just click on OK. Just click on OK. Okay. So you can see that the SPSS actually has given this table, correlations table. Okay. Can you see the results?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you can see that here it is written systolic blood pressure. Here it is written diastolic blood pressure. Okay. So it is Pearson's correlation. So Pearson's correlation between systolic and diastolic blood pressure is 0.847. Have you got it? 0.847.
Yes.
Okay. And this is the p-value. P-value is 0.000. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Can you see it? Okay,
Yes, sir.
right. So this value 0.847.
শোনা যাচ্ছে না
আমি
স্যার?
আবার শুনতে পাচ্ছি না।
শোনা যায় না।
স্যার শোনা যাচ্ছে না। স্যার আমরা শুনতে পাচ্ছি না স্যার।
আর সম্ভবত লকড আউট হয়ে গেছেন। কিবরিয়া ভাই, হ্যালো? কিবরিয়া ভাই, কিবরিয়া ভাই, হ্যালো?
জি জি আপা, আপা শুনছি। স্যারের ওখানে ইন্টারনেট প্রবলেম হয়েছে।
ও আচ্ছা, তাহলে রেকর্ডিংটা অফ করে দেন, নাহলে শুধু শুধু লম্বা হয়ে যাবে অনেক।
জি 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 জি।
থ্যাংক ইউ।